I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. In a recent conversation I had with Michael Cohen, he said something so profound that I want to share with you. And Michael Cohen talked about the threat that Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans pose to our democracy, to our freedom, and to our safety. And he was telling me in this conversation I'm about to share with you how his father is one of the last remaining living Holocaust survivors of Poland, and how his dad shares with him the similarities of this modern day MAGA movement to what he experienced as a survivor of the Holocaust. It's one of the most powerful moments I think you'll ever see of Michael Cohen. I'm honored to share it with you right now. Play the clip.
Let me be very clear about my stance on America. My stance on America is that this is the greatest country in the world. I was always reminded that by my father, all right, who, continues to this day to say, America, regardless of what we're going through, and we are going through a lot, is the greatest country in the world. And he knows it as, one of the remaining few Holocaust survivors from Poland, from Auschwitz. And, the fact that he was able to ultimately come to America, to get his citizenship and, to raise, to marry, to raise 4 children, to have 10 grand. I mean, what he'll turn around and he'll say is, this is the greatest country in the world. He is saddened. He's saddened by what's happening between the parties, the divisiveness, the hatred, the anti-Semitism, the racism, the sexism. It's driving my father, batty. He calls me every, I speak to him and my mom every morning, a couple of times during the afternoon, then at nighttime. And there's always something in the news that really gets him, going, and it gets him upset because, we all think that we should be better than this. But my biggest concern, and it's the reason why I fight as hard as I do, and it's why I'm, forever reading and preparing so that when, for example, this $500 million lawsuit comes, we smash this to smithereens, and that when I, go on television, when I appear here with you, Ben, on our political beatdown show of Mea Culpa, or as I'm trying to contemplate on maybe a third book, I want to be properly prepared. I want everything that I say to be accurate, no more innuendo. And my hope is that by us providing facts and not innuendo, we will be able to ensure that our children have greater rights, right, than we had. But that's not what we're seeing now. In fact, my daughter has less rights than my mother. She has less rights than her grandmother. This is insane. What are we doing here? And people don't even realize that the Dobbs decision, which is the decision that overturned Roe versus Wade, it has effects on other cases as well, including a lawsuit that I have against the United States government, Donald Trump, Bill Barr, for the unconstitutional remand of me back to prison. The Bivens case is affected by Dobbs. And that's what Judge Lyman wrote, and he's correcting it. And right now it's on appeal. And let me just throw this in as well, that the week of December 11th, we have oral argument on that case, which my hope is, of course, that we win, the oral argument, and that the appeal is, is granted. But even if this appeal is granted, I want to just get into this for a second because it's so important. Even if the appeal is granted, there's no way in the world that government is not going to appeal it themselves. No matter what happens, my belief is that this case ends up in the Supreme Court of the United States of America. And I believe that this case, Cohen versus United States, Donald Trump, Bill Barr et al., I believe that this case is a case that's going to be taught in every single law school for the next 100 years, the same way that like Brown versus Board of Education is taught regularly in every single law school when you're talking about constitutional law. And the reason is, and I want to just explain it. If as I read to you last time, Alvin K. Hellerstein's decision, the remand of me to Otisville was orchestrated by the president via the attorney general, via the department, the Bureau of Prisons, Department of Corrections, Department of Justice, where they they sent me to 500 Pearl Street, gave me a fakakta document that doesn't exist, that was drafted for me, which of course is improper, right? Everybody's supposed to sign the same document. It had a violation of my First Amendment right. I could not publish a book. I could not speak to the media. My family, friends couldn't speak to the media. Otherwise, I would be automatically remanded back to prison. I said, we need to talk about it. They had marshals waiting for me, and they handcuffed, shackled me, threw me into a freezer for a few hours in order just to chill out. And I'm not bullshitting you. Then they ended up putting me into a car and sending me back up to Otisville, right, 2 hours away. I became, as a result of this, the first political prisoner held by my own country, held by the United States of America, because I failed and refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional right. The reason that this is so important, and it's a reason why everybody has to take note, if they can do this to me, they can do it to you. They can do it to anyone, including the Supreme Court members, including members of Congress. If Donald Trump is successful and becomes president of the United States, the first thing that he said that he wanted to do, and do you remember what he said? He wants to rewrite the Constitution. And by rewriting the Constitution, what he's talking about is he wants to get rid of the legislative and the judiciary, thereby placing all power into the hands of the executive branch. Well, the problem with that for the rest of us in this country and the world is that by putting all the power in the hands of the executive branch, basically what you're doing is you are giving Donald Trump the same power as if he was king, as if he was the monarch, like a Kim Jong-un, a Mohammed bin Salman, or Vladimir Putin. So he will turn around and say to somebody like Jamie Raskin, he will say something to somebody, who is against him. This Congressman Moskowitz. He'll say it to anyone that is against him. Throw him in jail. Why? Because I say so. And I know it sounds crazy, and I know it sounds hyperbolic, but it's not. This is not a House of Cards type of a show. This is the United States of America. And together, I'm telling you, that's why I say on every I don't sleep at night, because I'm concerned that we don't have the blue wave. What happens if we don't create the blue wave? What's going to happen is the GOP, the maniac Republicans, like a Jim Jordan, what are they going to do? Oh, fuck it. Let's impeach Joe Biden. Why? Because they have the power. What I'm trying to create is a nexus between like the way Jim Jordan is acting and what Donald Trump will act like if in fact that he becomes president again. If the power rests in their hands, rest assured, we are all in serious trouble. Anyone who provokes Donald Trump, anyone who gets his ire, we are all doomed. And I know it sometimes sounds hyperbolic and it sounds like crazy rhetoric. It is not. He wants to be the dictator over the United States of America. And that's why together we are going to fight like hell. We are going to do what we need to do. We are going to, smash them at the polls and ensure that we have a blue victory that is so significant. We take the House back, we continue to control the Senate, and we continue to control the White House. Because the only way that we could destroy Trumpism, and it's not just only about Donald Trump, it's about the Matt Gaetzes of the world, it's about the Jim Jordans, the Lauren Boeberts, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Ted Cruz, it's about all of them. They have started to piggyback his rhetoric, and it is dangerous beyond what anybody can imagine. And I don't want to be right about this, but unfortunately, I know for a fact that I am. The same way when I said before the House Oversight Committee, if Donald Trump loses the election, my biggest fear is that he will never vacate, that there will never be a peaceful transfer of power. My prediction is if, God forbid, 1,000,000 times this guy wins, we will not see democracy in this country ever again.
Folks, that was one of the most powerful clips I saw in general in a very long period of time. Hey, if you want to meet Michael Cohen, want to get introduced to Michael Cohen, we're holding a Zoom meeting. You can meet Michael Cohen on our Patreon, Michael Cohen's Patreon account. It's the Beatdown Club. You go to patreon.com/beatdown, patreon.com/political beatdown, actually, patreon.com/political beatdown. Type it in the right way, patreon.com/political beatdown. Make sure you subscribe there or become a member there, and meet Michael Cohen next week. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers. Have a great day.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.